idea of keeping up with international relations. About 3 metres above Roulette 6 in the mirror. Now as the team breakaway there, Roulette 5 is Flight Lieutenant Chris Yukowski, call signs. Now this high levels of training and trust between team members will allow these impressive manoeuvres to be conducted safely. Now this is a high G manoeuvre where you can see the team anywhere up to 6 Gs. Like I was saying, that's 6 times their body weight. So Roulettes 5 and 6 right now are flying the aircraft right to the edge of the envelope and subjecting their bodies to some pretty high sustained G forces, as I said, up to 6 G. So right now we are seeing Roulette 6 coming for his solo display. As he comes right in now, he's come in for his start of the solo display. Dutters, of course, his big anniversary today, 15 years to Woody, who we'll see a bit later on today. There we are with the 4-point hesitation roll. And this really does showcase. You can go to @Air Force Roulettes and hashtag Air Force Roulettes. We'd love to see all of your photos and videos. We've seen some already from the Australian International Airshow. As we see Dutters come in for the max rate turn. Now this is also a manoeuvre which is a really tight turn, and you'll see a number of aircraft within defence doing this manoeuvre today, and this is also a very high G manoeuvre. You can be doing anywhere up to 6 G, 6 times his body weight, and Dutters is a taller guy. I'll just give you a moment to listen to that beautiful Pratt & Whitney engine. As Dutters does his final wing over, bugging out to the left. That's Dutters and our synchro pair display here with the Royal Australian Air Force Roulettes. What do you think?
It is an absolute delight as always to watch the PC-21s in action.
As he comes through for a final bypass.
It's an air show, right?
That's right. Well, he loves doing this. This is the great thing is, you know, this is a secondary duty for this team at Roulettes, and they absolutely love what they do. They love meeting people, and you'll see, particularly later on in the week when the whole team is on the ground, they'll be signing autographs. We've got some great posters and some merchandise. You can pop down and check out the static display we've got there at the PC-21, and there we are. at any speed, and what they'll be doing when they do this is floating in their harnesses under the negative Gs. We're going to be calling this manoeuvre the turbo nose down. From your left, ladies and gentlemen, Woody and Langers in the FA-18 Super Hornet. Documentary that shows a similar manoeuvre. I'm talking Top Gun. This is the Super Hornet equivalent. We're going to hit the brakes and it'll fly right by. Wouldn't be flying past at idle power to make it sound like it is much quieter than what you would expect, as you've heard so far here at the Australian International Airshow. It's amazing how quiet that aircraft can be. On your right, what are you doing? the airfields. And in contrast to high speed, Woody and Langers will now fly past at slow speed, travelling less than 110 knots or 200 kilometres an hour. So whilst that might get you a ticket at one of the cameras on the Prince's Highway, not so much for Woody and Langers, the FA-18 F Super Hornet. Now this is a great opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to get some cameras out, because you'll see the nose pointing 25 degrees high in the aircraft's direction of travel, known as the angle of attack. The Super Hornet is capable of up to 50 degrees angle of attack during the dogfight, and that's where the nose swing point. You're going to see that. Now this low speed performance is yet another capability that makes the Rhino such an intimidating aircraft to fight against. And this is also a great opportunity to check out the current weapons loadout, including 2 short-range heat-seeking missiles on the wingtips and 2 long-range radar-guided missiles on the wing pylons. You might be asking, how many missiles can a Super Hornet carry? A lot. We also have an internal 20mm cannon and that can fire at up to 100 rounds per second. So check that out and grab some photos as it flies past at slow speed. Today at the Australian International Airshow. From maintainers through to admin, logistics, all part of number 1 Squadron and number 6 Squadron, part of 82 Wing at the RAAF base at Amberley in Queensland. I want to thank them for being part of our display here today. Right, head on, Woody and Langers and the vertical departure. Helps complement the incredible radar, network avionics, extended combat range, and lethal weapons rollout. Ladies and gentlemen, look to your right. Woody and Langers flying at high speed. See the wheels come down any second now. As you've seen with our beloved Rhino here today, we are exceptionally proud of this aircraft and what it's capable of. Numbered 82 wing and its aviators are some of the most combat capable and combat ready assets for the ADF, particularly in protection of Australia, its borders and national interests. That readiness often means deploying and being away from family or friends. And we are really stoked to have the support of the community here at the Australian International Air Show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to say thank you to the community that supports us in our duties each and every day. Look to your right with the boys conducting their final salute to you, lighting the burners and squatting the jet one last time. And all of the aviators at number 82 wing. We really hope you enjoyed that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is your FA-18 F Super Hornet.
Oh, that is so much vitamin F. Thank you so much for all that vitamin F. You can actually, that's a question for the aviation uninitiated. Why the F?
It's the destination.
F?
Yeah.
F4.
I'm not going to say that.
Fighter. Thank you very much.
F for fighter. Yeah.
And why Rhino?
The Rhino, because of the unique way that when the fuel probe comes out, it comes out of the nose and it looks a bit like a rhinoceros.
There you go.
So that's why it's called the Rhino.
Now, seeing that thing's flown around the sky.
Yeah.
It is enormously to the RAAF credit that in 15 years of operating the Rhino, the F model Super Hornet, it's barely a scratch.
Yeah.
Not one has been lost.
Yeah, we look after our aircraft. We've got amazing maintainers and technical crews behind the team, and it really does have a great track record.
Now, if you look to the right, you will see the aircraft that is one half of the Air Combat Command's tip of the spear. That is, of course, the F-35. We're going to get a display by that, and you are going to talk us through that as well.
I'll be back very shortly. We've got Squadron Neil Whitehead who's going to be looking after the F-35 very shortly here. So I'll step out and let Neil come in, and we'll run you through the F-35 here today.
Thank you so much for that, Hinksy. As the F-18 F Super Hornet lands, if he does turn around and come back past us, make sure you give it a big wave as they go back. That was magnificent.
That was every bit as good as yesterday. I'd say that may have been that was absolutely incredible flying. And like I say, to throw that thing around at low level and with the skill and
So the very first flight you do is solo right from the get-go. We do a lot of simulator work before you ever step in the cockpit, and it's pretty replicable. Like, you don't really see too much of a difference from all the simulator stuff to you punching the throttle forward on your very first flight.
Just going to jump in here for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure that you give our F-18 Super Hornet pilot and co-pilot
Woody and Langers.
I almost said Lano and Woodley, and I thought, oh, well, that's not right. Can everybody please give them a huge...
Air Force, I believe, going to replace the E3 with the E7.
Well, they're certainly looking at that at the moment. They've got two platforms that will shortly be doing test and evaluation with a view to essentially replacing the E3 that they had in the 370s with the E7 version.
The taxi's past, you can see he's moving all the flight controls, getting ready for his flight today. I assume he's going to take off from left to right, so northbound today. For myself, I've been flying it for 3.5 years now with the Royal Australian Air Force, and similar to KP, we had a F-18A background, so we flew that jet for a couple of years prior to converting onto this.
So, one of the things I'm going to ask you, because you've got that call sign of Shrek. Why have you got a call sign of Shrek?
Do you want the official response? No. To anyone in the crowd, there's actually not much beyond it. Way back when I did conversion course 6-7 years ago on the Hornet, I lived in a place called Sherman Bay. So it's just south of Newcastle and it's a bit mosquito-ridden. There's a little bit of a swamp.
Okay.
So I personally have done nothing wrong.
That's what you say.
You did say that was clean.
Take a photo as the aircraft gets airborne and Shrek, Connor. Tell us what we're going to see. You guys
pass and then it'll be repositioning again. Generally, in a tactical situation where they don't spend too much time upside down unless they're a display pilot, it's good fun to do that from time to time.
A leap forward, isn't it? Like, where do you get all these situational awareness from?
So, I guess the biggest difference between this and a fourth generation plane is that it's designed to integrate all that. So instead of being split across all the different screens and down, like, say, a dial immediately, it's now just on the big glass, what we call the bucket. You just have a look at that dial, it's all the bucket information. That's the biggest difference. So I'm not trying to integrate it in my head. The plane's done it for me already. So it uses all the integrated sensors in the antennas that are all around the aircraft, whether it's forward-looking infrared, the radar in the nose, the distributed aperture system to say see missile launches or whatever. It has all of that, and it just gives it to me as squares, circles, color-coded, nice audio cues. It's really easy to interpret as a pilot. He comes here from right to left for his configured pass. Big difference here, we're not going to put the hook out. We do have one, but we can't really put it back up once it's been deployed. Then the time for, say, Super Hornets and Growlers to be able to go further into the area of operations because they're a little bit less stealthy than us. Hey, once we've rolled that back, now they can get actually involved at lower risk to them. Same. We work with the air refuelers to get on station, and the Wedgetail, they are also providing us situational awareness from afar. As you see here, he's got his weapon bay doors open, and you can spot the white on the upper bottom of the plane. For a couple of aileron rolls as he heads northbound, so it'll be left to right for the crowd line today. Generally he'll set the flight path marker or velocity vector for the old people a little bit nose up, then we'll go through his aileron rolls nice and quickly. surfing anyway. And that influenced me completely to change from I want to be a builder to let's see what flying planes is like. Well, how can I do this? I can bankrupt mum and dad by doing it properly, or I can do it in the air force. Later for me personally, and went through Defence Force recruiting. They told me, hey, you probably want to change up your subjects a little bit to go more maths oriented, etc. And I guess the rest is history. Just got into ADFA 81 on my ATAR, so if there's anyone smarter than that, you can do it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there smarter than I. You don't need a degree to actually join the Air Force to be an officer or to be a pilot, so you don't need a degree like America. So there's plenty of options there. From that stage, once you've done your officer training, the training pipeline for learning to be a fighter pilot is about 3 years from way to go. Here comes KP from the west. I suspect he's going to duck down pretty low and do his vertical departure. He's done pretty good.
Cameras at the ready. You came through that, right? Did you feel it? Was it just me? Oh well, there we go.
Just when we thought you'd finish, threw in one extra
It's
for
an
us.
air show, right?
Flexibility being the
These
key to
things
air
happen.
power is always what they say.
Exactly. Yes. So, are we assuming that the F-35 has now departed the precinct, or is departing the precinct?
We'll get one more opportunity.
I've got a question for
Yes.
you, just while we're trying to figure out whether that is the case or not. You talk all the time about 5th generation fighters, 4th generation fighters. Is there some sort of a technical or a less technical for those that are non-aviation minded among us that we can get used to get our head around what we're talking about there?
So up to 4th generation, it was very much a question of not so much in the low observable technology, so what we're trying to achieve is stealth as much as anything else, which is very much a 5th generation type situation. But before that, right down to sort of the 50s and 60s, where post-war you've got the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generation aircraft, and then towards the 4th generation, it was still very much, you did a lot of fighting.
Mentioned the S-duct on the F-35, and that's how much design has gone into the F-35, for example, because the radar energy, if it hits the front of a jet engine, that's a very friendly radar target. It bounces back to the emitting station. So in a 5th generation fighter, you do as much as you can to shield that.
Correct, yeah.
And it makes it very hard to spot on a radar.
I read somewhere, and I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but the radar footprint of the F-35 is something like the size of a bumblebee.
Yes, but one going at 900 knots.
Well, yes,
It's very similar with things like the B-2 bomber. The size of the jet is enormous, but it's a teacup basically as a radar reflective capability because of what it's made of.
In its full capacity as such, yes. So we'll just watch the F-35 landing here.
I think there's one more pass.
Right.
Anything's possible.
We think he's landing. We'll wait till the wheels are down just to make certain. There we go.
Yeah. I think he's
Magnificent.
complete for the day, the F-35.
We'll take a break.
There is no show like the air show. Avalon 25.
There's a tremendous opportunity for defence to interface with industry over the 3 trade days.
The industry engaging with all of our trade participants.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about these next few days.
I feel very proud to be part of the defence team here at Avalon. Avalon is the largest event of its type in the Southern Hemisphere. With over 900 companies, it takes a lot of work and dedication.
This is one of the reasons we love being at Avalon, the variety and the outcomes that you get from just an intense week. You get to meet everyone. The benefits of us being here at Avalon is it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. As you can see behind me, we're very, very busy. This is where manufacturers as well as end users come together, plan what future collaborations we can